Welcome to Creature Guy Live Daily News. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. At the moment, or for this part of the day, we are going to be doing a shorter live stream and specifically focusing on a new discovery over in Europe, apparently. Uh, and we're going to be also going over a few other different species of dinosaurs. So, we are also streaming on both Rumble, Kick, and YouTube. From Fizz.org, Newfound terrestrial crocodile fossil redraws the map of Europe in the age of the dinosaurs. So, oh, that's an issue. There we go. Well, this definitely looks like a very distinct crocodilomorph looking individual. It doesn't seem to have like a more of like skinny sort of a structure that you see in many different species of Cretaceous and even certain late Jurassic crocodilomorphs where they barely have a core. And this individual seems to have a bit of muscle on him. Still has a very thin and narrow jaw structure. I think also due to the painting. It almost has like a bit of an like a caiman mixed with possibly a certain monitor lizard sort of a jaw structure. A research team led by Dr. Martin Rabbi from the biogeology department of the University of Tübingen, together with Mate Szexhardai and Professor Altay Osai from the Hungarian Eötvös Loránd University. Is challenging the hypothesis that Europe remained connected to Africa during the age of the dinosaurs. Well, I think it's when you're referring to like a certain part of the Cretaceous or Jurassic, then yes, you would have had a breakup. Where's the
A breakup of what?
just simply the continents in general? Considering during the Cretaceous period, at least over 100 million years ago, I'd say extensively around 135 million years ago. So within the first 10 million years, you had different species of spinosaurs roaming different parts of Europe as well as northern Africa, especially with animals such as baryonyx over in England and different species of iguanodontids, rare but still occurred certain species of long necked sauropods. In fact, let's look up. Actually, no, before then, let's go down a little bit. Apparently, the animal is Durotodon carcharodens. That's interesting. A lot of different species of prehistoric animals lately have been given the name Carchar or Carcharodon, which is also given to the great white shark of today. And it's mentioning that it's a land dwelling crocodile. And if this is during, well, this is during the Mesozoic era, maybe at the shortly after the, I believe, actually, no, it would be the beginning of the Campanian stage of the Cretaceous. Yes, you would have had some of the earliest caimans to evolve, but not necessarily true like Nile or saltwater crocodiles. They wouldn't start evolving until very far into the late Cenozoic era, period after the age of the dinosaurs. So at this point, this is, I would guess, simply just be another type of crocodilomorph. So, one argument for this is the great similarity between fossils of extinct crocodiles discovered in present day Europe and species occurring in the same area in or era in Africa and South America. If the primeval crocodiles were related, that would indicate a late separation of Europe from the southern continents. Also, let's start bringing up the dinosaurs. Let's look up Tyrannoceratops.
Wait, what? I haven't even heard of that.
Well, it's spelled differently than how it sounds. Not like Tyrannosaur. Turanocer.
Wait, wait. Turna.
No, Turanocerops. And by the way, the University of I think it was Tübingen is in southern Germany. Apparently, we've got Hungary and Germany on this discovery. This is him. Okay, so this is a species of Ceratopsoideae from the late Cretaceous, somewhere around 90 to 92 million years ago, over in Uzbekistan. So this is practically a Middle Eastern or Central Asian species of early ceratopsid. This is technically not a member of the ceratopsidae lineage of um, ornithischians, or uh, because the problem is that at this point the family hasn't evolved yet. So this could simply be an older ancestor or just simply an older predecessor, but didn't have an extending um, genetic line of the Ceratopsidae lineage. So Tyrannoceratops reached somewhere around 11 to 13 feet in length. They're pushing around 4 meters and probably didn't weigh much more than 350 pounds or a little over 170
Wait,
kilograms.
is that supposed to be there?
Tyrannoceratops did have a very short um, nasal horn, you could say.
He doesn't have it.
Technically it does. There's a little bit of a ridge, but it's very little compared to most other species of ceratopsid. So this animal existed over in Asia before the families of ceratopsians, such as the chasmosaurs and centrosaurs, would have evolved. So this was far before animals such as Triceratops and Styracosaurus, which inhabited North America around, well, you're referring to Triceratops around 68 million years ago, and Styracosaurus pushing some around 74 million years ago. But Tyrannoceratops did have to be aware of different species of possibly kygnathids and as well early tyrannosaurs back in early late Cretaceous, or you could even say at this point, Turonian Cretaceous Asia.
He doesn't have it.
Yeah, it's very I guess it just differs depending on the reconstruction. I believe it's a bit of a guess as to how that specific, part of the skull would have looked. It is interesting considering he has a bit of both a centrosaur and a chasmosaur sort of appearance to him, which could make sense considering he is, likely a predecessor to both lineages, but he is not a member of Ceratopsidae specifically, since Ceratopsidae is a family of ceratopsians that belongs to Ceratopsoideae, where Ceratopsoideae consists of most of the or many of the earlier different species of ceratopsians. So even ones that link to further back in the early Cretaceous as well as the late Jurassic. The ceratopsians in general first evolved around 165 million years ago, with some of their earliest tyrannosaurs during the beginning of the late Jurassic. It is possible that animals like Tyrannoceratops might have had certain feathers on the back of their tail. This seems to be a common reconstruction with many, not just smaller species of ceratopsians and earlier members as well, but even later, larger species such as the different centrosaurs that would evolve later into the Cretaceous after about 80 million years ago during the Campanian stage, especially if you're referring to certain larger species such as Pechyrhinosaurus or Centrosaurus or Chasmosaurus over in Canada. Let's bring up let's get rid of these pictures and pull up somebody else that appeared close to the same time. Um, Kanhulu. So Kank, um, Hulou. You pop up. Oh, okay. So this is an earlier species of tyrannosaur that existed over in Mongolia somewhere around 90 million years ago during the Turonian stage of the Cretaceous as well. In fact, this is I believe, a bit of a new species that has been discovered in the past year. I believe it was 2025. And this animal was a much more lightly built species of tyrannosaur. Many that um, have are somewhat familiar with the tyrannosaurs believe that most or have the view that tyrannosaurs before species such as Gorgosaurus, Daspletosaurus, especially Tarbosaurus, they were all lightly built. To an extent, that is somewhat true, but as you head further back into even the early Cretaceous, there were much larger species of tyrannosaurs compared to this specific species. Now, Kanhulu existed over in Mongolia around 90 million years ago and probably reached a length of somewhere around 11 to 15 feet or pushing. a little over 4.5 meters, and probably weighed not much more than 1,300 pounds or a little over 600 kilograms, and likely fed on some of the earlier species of hadrosauromorphs that existed over Mongolia at that time in the Cretaceous, as well as maybe certain species of earlier ceratopsids, possibly even Tyrannoceratops itself. We just simply don't have any evidence for specifically Kangaroo feeding on Tyrannoceratops over in Mongolia or Uzbekistan, any Asian fossil formation or fossil group. So, when it comes to Kangaroo, wait a second. Trying to remember if this is specifically. I think it might have been the original species, but it is interesting that it's been given the specifically species name because Kangaroo is the genus Mongoliensis because there are a wide variety of different species of dinosaurs that come from Mongolia, especially the Cretaceous period, not just the late Cretaceous either, like Velociraptor that have the species Mongoliensis in it. And there is more than one species of Velociraptor. But when it comes to Kangaroo, Mongoliensis is the only species so far that we know of. It is a member of Tyrannosauridae, which is a member of the Tyrannosauroideae lineage of theropods. Did it have feathers on its body? It is very possible that it did. We just don't have any evidence when it comes to smaller species of tyrannosaurs of these animals having feathers later on in life. It also is possible that definitely their young might have been covered in feathers as well, or you could call them chicks. I guess we can head back to the article. But after studying a more complete specimen of the crocodile Duratodon carcharodens found in Hungary, the researchers concluded that its similarities with African and South American species did not arise from close kinship. It, I guess what's referring to is other crocodilomorphs at that time. Europe at this point in the Mesozoic era does not host many species of dinosaurs or even crocodilomorphs in general. I'd say pterosaurs can be a bit more common depending on the flying reptiles where you're looking. Eastern Europe at this point does tend to host a much larger variety of species compared to Western Europe, especially when referring to different areas of Germany, the British Isles, or basically England, Wales. Different species of marine reptiles do emerge, but this was also right at the time where different species of reptiles or different groups, such as the ichthyosaurs, have now recently gone extinct. The pliosaurs have also slightly before the ichthyosaurs have gone extinct as well. But this is around the time when I believe different species, or at least referring to the animals that we've been discussing on land, this is around the time when different species of mosasaurs and long neck plesiosaurs have evolved, or at least larger species. This calls into instead they were shaped by a similar way of life. This calls into question that key piece of evidence for a late separation between the continents. The study has been published in the journal Scientific Reports during the Permian period, about 300 million years ago. Well, that was towards the very beginning of the Permian. And so this is around 65 million years before some of the first true dinosaurs appear during the later Triassic period. The supercontinent Pangaea encompassed all of Earth's land masses. About 200 million years ago, Pangaea began breaking apart into its primary divisions: the northern Laurasia, containing Europe, North America, and Asia, and the southern continent of Gondwana, including all the rest of the land masses according to geological models. In contrast, paleontologists assume that European fauna during the age of the dinosaurs shared most of its evolutionary history with species in North America, as well as with those of the southern land masses, including Africa and South America. Does seem to be the case in many instances. There was a lot of evolutionary beginnings occurring in Europe, and then they would spread to different parts of Africa, Asia, and North America and South America, and even Australia and Antarctica. That's interesting that they didn't mention that. On this assumption, Europe must have remained connected to Africa for longer than geological models indicate, meaning that during the Cretaceous period, land animals could have moved freely between the now separated continents. I'm just rereading it for a second. Well, I don't think this is a relatively new theory. That would explain different species of sauropods, spinosaurs, tyrannosaurs. It doesn't seem, at least at the moment, never made it into Africa, really the southern hemisphere in general, South America, Antarctica, or Australia. Now, animals such as the megaraptors made it into different areas of Australia and South America. Um, hmm. I'm not sure what we learned here, besides the new crocodilomorph species. I want to read a little more. Key piece of evidence for this assumption is the spectacular looking land dwelling crocodile Dorotodon carcharodens, whose remains have been found in Europe, I believe it's Hungary. With its deep skull and blade like serrated teeth, it resembled a carnivorous dinosaur. Hold on a second. You got to be very careful when you're comparing crocodilomorphs. Yes, they do come from the same lineage of reptiles as the dinosaurs do, the archosauromorphs, but both diverged into completely different branches. This is very distinct from any carnivorous dinosaur. It is not. I'm trying to think what dinosaur this could resemble. I was thinking originally maybe a Machikosaurus, but no, that's very different. Also, dinosaurs have lips, and the crocodilomorphs, in many cases, just like today's crocodilians for the most part, they are not reconstructed with lips. I don't think he looks similar to any species. You could say in some instances, if you're looking, take away the teeth, and you're looking at specifically just the jaw structure in general or the skull overall. Yeah, there might be some similarities to maybe certain earlier species of neotheropods, but even then, that's quite distinct. Maybe a coelophysid, possibly, like even coelophysis itself. Coelophysis still has a very thin and narrow jaw structure. This animal has a bit of a wider skull compared to its body size, and comparing it with a coelophysid. Hmm. Maybe I was thinking certain compsognathids, like certain smaller coelurosaur species. Even then, very distinct. Crocodilomorphs are their own thing. So a key piece of evidence for this assumption. Oh, I already said that. These features had previously only been documented in African and South American crocodile species. Okay, I'm getting confused. Is this like a member of the alligator toroidae lineage of reptiles or crocodilomorphs? Because all crocodilians today are crocodilomorphs. No other reptiles are. Or is this another type of um yeah, is this a one of the earliest late Cretaceous crocodilians, or is it just a crocodilomorph in general? Because there are many instances where even just other paleontologists will put the title out there crocodile because apparently it's just to many that are not familiar with these reptiles in general, will just, grab their attention. So I'm confused on that. We also don't know, I think, specifically when this is taking place. We all of a sudden went to the Permian period. I understand that it was talking about the geographic land masses, and then back to the basically beginning of the Jurassic around 200 million years ago. Um, oh, wait a
Today?
second. No, 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 no. I didn't finish that paragraph. I'm confused. Let's see. Durotodon, I like the um, I like the name though, was therefore long considered an immigrant from the south arriving overland. However, we had only very fragmentary remains of Durotodon, just teeth and incomplete jaws. Interesting. You would have kind of confused this site with like an area in South Dakota or Montana. Yeah, because a lot of fossil discoveries, especially coming from the late Cretaceous, are from different formations in those two states. I wonder what else they're finding here. 6 years after discovering Pteranodon remains in 85 million-year-old Cretaceous rocks at Irkut, Hungary in 2018. Okay, late Cretaceous, somewhere around the Cerantonian or Caratonian age of the dinosaurs. So this is about 5 million years before the Campanian age would start. 80 to 90 million years ago, you could even say to 100 million years ago, there were many different evolutionary occurrences happening with a wide variety of different families of dinosaurs, especially within the ceratopsian, the hadrosomorph lineage or lineages. Let's see, even different types of sauropods and the tyrannosaurs. And you could also include different members of the Panaraptora lineage of dinosaurs, close relatives of the dromaeosaurs or raptors, such as Velociraptor, Deinonychus. Let's see. So we found an upper jaw with the characteristic teeth and realized that it and the previously discovered partial skull fitted together perfectly. It was clear that it must have belonged to the same individual, and Dorotodon finally took shape before our eyes. The proportions of the skull and teeth suggest a modestly sized but fearsome looking crocodile 85 million years ago. I think it's a crocodilomorph. 80 million years ago, it could possibly be some type of a late Cretaceous caiman. But at this point, in like the uh, Croatian age, it's too early. Some 1.5 meters long. I'm guessing this is somewhere around a little over 5 feet, likely with long legs and a dinosaur like head. It, it looks very distinct from a dinosaur. It really does look like a crocodilomorph. At first glance, the new find seemed to confirm the great similarity between Dorotodon and some extinct crocodile species from Africa and South America. Yeah, they do. I mean, there's a wide variety of different crocodile species that can look somewhat similar to this. Okay, let's pull up somebody else. I believe it's Siledosaurus. Siledosaurus. They come up with a sauropod.
Kind of looks like a sauropod.
Is it really skinny? Because I might be mentioning the name of a genus. No, it's him. I think it's him. No, 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 it's Celosaurus. Siledosaurus. I might be mentioning the name of a genus of a close relative of the dinosaurs from the Triassic period. It might just be a mistake. No, it's still not him. Not like a distinct. It looks somewhat like a um like a smaller
That's
version of a.
Siledosaurus.
Maybe I'm mentioning it like I'm stating the wrong genus. Okay, let's come up with somebody else.
Hold on, I'll show you another one.
I don't believe there's any evidence of the sauropod being armored. It is a member of the Lithostrodiae lineage of sauropods, not Scelidosaurus.
Oh, did I? Maybe it's me.
That's a
It's me.
yeah,
Spell it.
Eutherian. Okay, Siledosaurus.
Oh, I went back to the other one. No, that's not it.
That looked like some sort of an early species of sauropodomorph from the mid Jurassic, like around
There's
180
no
million
pictures
years
of
ago.
him.
Strange. Really? Okay. Let's pull up.
It's only that first. No, that's not even it either. No, there's no pictures of it.
Let's pull up then a species of hadrosomorph. Bactrosaurus. So Bactrosaurus. Oh, okay. So referring to Bactrosaurus, this was not a species of true. That's him. Hadrosaur from China, somewhere around 89 million years ago. So this is also during the Turonian stage of the Cretaceous. And this animal was somewhere around 22 feet in length or pushing just under 7 meters. and probably weighed somewhere around 1.5 tons, or pushing around 3,000 pounds, or a little over 1,400 kilograms.
He looks happy.
Yeah, he does. It is interesting. They gave, well, okay, this is an actual picture, but um, yeah, it gave him that extended cheek. I'm not familiar with that when it comes to Bactrosaurus. By the way, that tree that he was feeding on, or even on the right over here, that's a ginkgo. And there have been many species of ginkgo trees that have been discovered in different Mesozoic formations from every time period. So both in the, or all three, the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. So Bactrosaurus inhabited different parts of the what is now the Gobi Desert of China around 89 million years ago. There would have been at the time different areas of desert within Mongolia and China as well, considering the Gobi Desert, a large portion of it is consisted within the country of Mongolia. There's also a slice of it over in northern China. But likely, like many of the different species of dinosaurs that this hadrosaur coexisted with, they would have seeked forage in, or food, like vegetation specifically, in different forests or wetlands or even floodplains in the midst of these deserts, or basically that would have separated these different biomes. Bactrosaurus likely did travel, probably at least in small herds, in the different conifer forests within Mongolia and northern China during the early late Cretaceous. But this animal was just simply a hadrosauromorph. And also looking at the um, structure of the skull, there doesn't seem to be any evidence for this animal having a type of a crest like with what you would see in different species of hadrosaurs later on. Now, there were certain members of Hadrosauridae, which hasn't evolved yet. The true hadrosaurs, or Hadrosauridae in general, wouldn't evolve until somewhere around 83 million years ago. So, um, about 2 million years before the Campanian stage of the Cretaceous. And there were certain species that did not have those distinct crests, such as, well, okay, it would vary depending on the hadrosaur, but certain Edmontosaur species, it seems, do not have the distinct crest, like certain members of the Lambeosaurine lineage of hadrosaurs, such as Lambeosaurus or Corythosaurus themselves. Who else? Well, you could even say certain members of the. Am I
You're not
going
gonna
on?
believe this.
Oh, it was under that name? Yeah, that's annoying when that happens. This is an older reconstruction, probably from the 19, at least from the 1920s. It could actually date much further back too. Of Megalosaurus, which is not from the Cretaceous period. This is from England during the late Jurassic, around 170 million years ago. So,
And for
um,
those of you that didn't understand why
the
he
mid
went up
Jurassic.
there, he was mislabeled.
Yeah, this is extremely infuriating when it comes to many different species of dinosaurs that, for some reason, when you look them up, have the wrong genus and species name under them. And it happens with other animals too. Prehistoric mammals, it can be even trickier, especially when you're trying to distinguish different species of elephant or saber-toothed cat. And what I mean by elephants are like the gomphotheres, the mammoths, the mastodons. So, where were we? But a comprehensive analysis of Dorotodon's anatomical details and evolutionary relationships yielded an unexpected result. It is not closely related to the southern crocodile species. Rather, it belongs to a group of crocodiles from North America and Asia that more closely resemble our current image of a crocodile, says Mate Sardai, a doctoral student and first author of the study. Doratodon's similarity to African and South American forms has turned out to be a case of extreme evolutionary convergence. This term describes obvious similarities between unrelated species that have developed the same characteristics to adapt to similar ecological roles. I would like to see a reconstruction of what overall Doratodon looks like. When it comes to this point in the Cretaceous, there is a dinosaur that I can think of from. Oh, okay. Apparently, we're not done. Upon re-examining other European species, I'll get to that dinosaur very shortly. from this period, including dinosaurs that were previously thought to be immigrants from Africa. We found that their ancestry too needs to be reconsidered. These animals can be viewed as survivors of a once widespread ancestor from the time of the supercontinent. This seems more likely than the idea that they were newcomers crossing landmasses into Europe from the south. Well, when looking at specifically this crocodilomorph's ancestry, because we were referring to the Permian period, which was not too long after the overall order of animals called reptiliae, consisting of every species of reptile that has evolved, as well as the archosauromorphs that would include today's birds and the dinosaurs as well, and even the marine reptiles. So this is a very vast look. You could say basic in some instances, and then in other ways, it's very specific um, when you're trying to analyze this animal's ancestry. Is there anything else? Oh, let's keep going. So our findings suggest that the main division of the supercontinent Pangaea into the northern continent Laurasia and the southern continent Gondwana was important in the divergence of crocodile groups. We now assume an early separation of Europe as part of Laurasia from Gondwana during the Jurassic period. Well, actually, that might make sense considering of the different, I guess, different types of dinosaurs that were evolving over in Africa by the early Cretaceous period. Still, though, that seems a bit soon. Around 180 million years ago, which is in better agreement with geological models. Duratodon, well, I guess when it began to split, yeah, that makes sense. Duratodon has, in a sense, redrawn the prehistoric map of Europe. Professor Dr. Carla Pullman, University of Tübingen president, says in paleontological research, findings are pieced together like mosaic tiles. This creates an increasingly complete picture to which the researchers at the University of Tübingen make important contributions. This work by Dr. Rabbi and his team show how fundamentally our understanding of evolutionary history can change when new discoveries are placed in context. Okay, well, hmm. Oh, let's look up that other animal, Acaceratops. That way, this crocodile morph's not alone. Acaceratops. So this is a species of ceratopsid from around 84 to 85 million years ago during the I believe the Ceratonian age of the um this is the new discovery. You know what? I'm not going to go too into depth on him at the moment. I forgot how recently this was. But he did coexist with Duratodon, the crocodilomorph,
That's actually from the article.
over in Hungary at this time. Okay, we're going to leave it at this. Thanks for joining, and we will see you later today. And for Prehistoric to Present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. And remember that nothing is better than all animals all the time. And we are streaming on Rumble, Kick, and YouTube.